Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about what makes an M car special.
So this opinion is going to catch a bunch of flack, I'm sure, but in my opinion, this is an M car. It's my 2020 M340i.
But more specifically, I consider it an M light car.
Previously, I said that this car is about 60 to 70% as much of an M car as a regular 3 Series would be. I just went by feel and prior experience. If you go on BMW's site and search for this car, you have to go under M cars, and then it'll pull up under the M3. And I make that opinion because I'm comparing my 335i compared to regular E90s like the regular 328. They don't really feel very different besides the speed, even with the sports package. But this car tended to feel a little bit special and like it has some N DNA in it right from the factory.
I'd say it's more than just an M package.
Case in point, look at the brakes, etc. I've had a couple of M cars in the past. I've had two E30 M3s. I had a regular E30 to compare it to, and of course it was night and day in terms of feel. I've driven an E46, I've driven an E36. I haven't driven an E90, which would be quite different to my 335i, but there is something special about an M car, of course. And of course, I've always wanted to say that since I got this car, but I didn't want to get hammered in the comments because, you know what, it seems tacky to put an M badge on something that's not an M car. But even BMW themselves puts this under their M division, but considered an M light. So this is really an awesome car. I'd highly recommend it. If you're coming from an E90, 335i, etc., and you want something with more spice to it, you'll think that this is 60 or 70% an M car. But at the same time, I haven't driven the M3, the new generation G80 M3 to compare it to, but this car is about to disappear because I'm dropping it off at the dealer right now. It no longer belongs to me. It just came home as a demo car so I can pick up the new M3 on launch day, March 13th. So let's pan over to the dealership right now and check out my new M3. It's an M3 comp. All right guys, here it is, 2021 M3 Competition. So I went for black sapphire metallic. It's kind of like a gunmetal black, but it looks nearly pitch black depending on the lighting. So this car has the optional laser lights with the blacked out housings. It came with Michelin Pilot Sport 4Ss. These are the standard rim for the competition. It's 19s in the front and 20s in the back. The tire size is 285, 30, 20 in the rear. The car has the carbon fiber roof. You can get an optional no-charge sunroof, but I'd recommend the carbon fiber roof. This car has the optional power trunk. If it isn't obvious already, I went for a blackout theme on this car, and the competition comes with smoked chrome black tips. The exhaust tips are actually massive on this car, as you can see. When you go for the M3 comp, it comes with black emblems, which look much nicer in my opinion. And there's the trunk lip spoiler with the relief in it. I got the car tinted before I even picked it up. The side emblems are also blacked out. All right guys, so there's that controversial front end. And to be honest with you, it's the reason I went for black on black to kind of disguise that or camouflage it a bit to make it look a little bit more natural. The way my camera lens is bringing in light, it's kind of accentuating them a bit, and I'm seeing more of the metallic in the paint, and it looks a little bit brighter than it would normally be. I just adjusted the exposure to be more lifelike, so that's kind of how the car looks. Looks a little bit menacing. An honest angle of the car where the car could kind of look good on camera would be right here. Now this angle is the one you keep seeing where they look straight on flat, and that is the one that's throwing people off, but it's at an angle where you'd almost have to be lying down on the ground to ever see it that way. It's not how you see it in real life. If you see one coming up toward you from your rearview mirror, it would kind of be at that angle. So I think if you get this car black on black, it's kind of safe, it works. I had an M340i before this, and it had a really conservative but really nice looking front end. And this is super polarizing. If you got to think about distinction for the money or having a unique looking car for the money where it looks very different than anything else in the range, then you're getting pretty good distinction for the money. But that comes at the cost of being super polarizing and turning off the majority of people. If I had to guess, from what I read, 80% of people don't like it, and about 50% of people like it better in person when they see it, and some people go crazy for it. 20% of people think it's just the most aggressive thing ever. But it does make the old model look dated because maybe the designers were a little future looking. But since I have a DIY channel, if they offer a better looking bumper, I'll probably be one of the first people to put it on just to see. But to me, the key is blacked out laser headlights, blacked out paint. It really disguises that and kind of makes it look a little more uniform and more natural. I think the wheels look really awesome. These wheels are super dished and they look really good. So to me, the better looking car is the M3 because of how much wider the track is and how they had to jut out this rear quarter panel so much. The stance is super wide and super aggressive on the sedan. And the rear bumper and all that is just really aggressive. M3 Competition door sill. Like all M cars, they have the lighted emblem in the seat now. I didn't go for the carbon buckets because I want it to be somewhat comfortable. In terms of tech features, I pretty much clicked every option. I went for the carbon pack on the interior, which gives you steering wheel trim and the center console, etc. The really nice carbon paddles, heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel. Here's the window sticker. Base 72.8. The paint was $550. The driver's assistance was $1,700, and the parking assistance with the surround view was $800. The executive package comes with a remote start, heated steering wheel, power tailgate, icon adaptive LED, laser lights, head-up display, wireless charging, gesture control, Wi-Fi hotspot. Shadowline headlights, $300. Carbon fiber trim, $950. Ventilated seats, $350. With destination, 81,445. It also has Harman Kardon. They come with the M pattern in the seat belts. The rear seat isn't a whole lot different than the M340i, besides the fact that it comes with nicer leather and carries the same pattern in terms of ventilation that the front would have. There's no armrest in the center to put your drinks. Here's a good look at that dish. Here's how the back of the seat looks. So all the trim on the outside is just black, which blends in nicely because I got sapphire metallic black, but some people are going for optional carbon fiber bits on the outside. Here's the infamous S58 engine that's supposed to be only about 10% related to the B58. It's got twin turbos, single scroll, and this engine is rated at probably 580 crank. This is expected to put down around 500 to the wheels based on initial dynos and whatnot. 3.60 to 60s are being accomplished already on these, depending on how launch control goes, and they're running like 11s, 11.5, 11.6, etc. Mile an hour is around 125. So this seems like with a stage 1 tune and maybe a set of downpipes, it would run a 10. Now that I have some seat time behind the wheel of this car, I made the argument in the beginning that the M340i is about 60 or 70% of an M car. I'll be honest, this car surprised me a little bit. It's a little more than I was expecting in a good way, so I'd put it at around 55%. So of course it's just my subjective opinion where I say that the M340i was an M-like car, but it just had M DNA in it for sure. So I'll just pan around the engine bay while I talk, but my experience comes from the fact that I had an E30 that had a 6-cylinder in it that I built as a stroker and whatnot way back in the day. I was going to turbocharge it, but I really enjoyed it even though it was kind of slow. And then I got an E30 M3, and then I got another E30 M3 that looked like a Sport Evolution clone. For you longtime subscribers, you'll recognize it when I show this clip right now. So in terms of experience driving M cars, thousands of miles behind the wheel of E30 M3s, which are super rare cars, hard to find. I also have driven E36 M3s, extensively repaired them. I've driven an E46. I haven't driven an E90 or E92 V8. I've driven an F83 convertible DCT, and there is a certain feeling that M cars have. So I would say an M car is better than the sum of its parts. You know that French expression where they say je ne sais quoi, like you can't really say why it's good, but really you could if you quantified everything. And in my opinion, the reason they are good is because I would say they're insanely comfortable for how sure-footed they are. It's all about dampening and how stuck to the road the car feels. It's almost like there's a magnetic pull pulling the car down. If you brake really hard, it won't nosedive. If you hit a bunch of ruts in the road, you won't feel the individual ruts, but you'll get the communication through the chassis in a comfortable, sure-footed way. And if you go high speeds on the highway, it's just, it hunkers down and feels like it's a bank vault and super stable and really reassuring. This is kind of a lame analogy, but it's kind of like basketball shoes that have been laced up properly and you just feel good. You want to go hit the court because they're fitting you snug. And the M340i had some of that. It definitely had that flavor to it. It had that feeling. It surprised me. So I'm sure you guys can understand, but I'm going to be making a ton of content on this car. It's going to be around for a while for sure. My 335i is actually a sport package. And to be honest, if you drive a regular 325i with 16s and you drive that car, they hardly feel different. Not to knock it, but just the way they're calibrated. They're all about comfort and isolation, and they just have the speed going for them. That's most of my viewers right now, so I'm not trying to knock it in any way. I love it. I still have it. All these other cars keep coming and going, but that car's still here. It's, you know, the E30 M3 came and went. The M340i has come and gone. There's something really special about the N54. But I'll tell you what, this car has that bite, that torque shove, that relation in terms of having twin turbos. Just a look at the carbon. There's a couple humps on the roof. So if it wasn't for you viewers, I wouldn't be getting this car. I got it for myself to enjoy it, but at the same time, this is a content car. I want to be out there first with one of the newer chassis to answer any of your questions, and we'll kind of see how far we take it. My main impression thus far, just driving normally, is insanely stable and comfortable feeling. Much more comfortable with the adaptive suspension than the M340i. I think you really have to get the adaptive suspension on that car if you're ever considering it. All right, let's start it up. Taking it a little bit easy on the brake and didn't even really rev past 2K RPM. Might as well do it right. The car, after 1,200 miles and after they've done their initial service and double checking of all the key areas, they will open it up, and then the US cars should be getting a bit of a burble when the exhaust is fully heated up. There's a look at the laser lights and their halos. Like I said, it's hard to quantify what makes it feel different, but it's just a whole bunch of things that add up together. But that feeling you get is exactly like every M car compared to the standard model. It just kind of feels stabler than you would ever expect, way too sure-footed at speed in an almost unnatural way, a little bit noisier in terms of the interior and how much vibration and NVH makes it through, but kind of minor on this particular chassis. And just all in all, it just feels hunkered down and eager, but at the same time just insanely comfortable for how aggressively you can drive it. It just gives you that sense of security. So expect a ton of content on this car. Let me know what kind of content you'd like to see next. I forgot to point out that of course I got driver's assistance. I just love that feature on the M340i, but it does kind of interfere with the grills. So I haven't had too many cars that get a lot of looks. This did today because it just came out. This is launch day, but my E30 M3 always used to get a ton of stares because it was super rare. But really, I don't even want to ask you guys what you think of the grille, because I'm with you. When I first saw it, I was a little bit taken aback, and hence this car is black on black on black. But I'm getting used to it, and eventually I think it will make standard models look a little bit dated. Or they'll make a nice LCI update and all you guys will be happy. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel if you want to see more content on this car. And like I said, let me know what you guys want to see next. If this is the first video you're catching of mine, please consider subscribing. I do upload regularly. Thanks for watching.